always waiting. We're always waiting. Hurry up and wait. Teens with dreams. Teens with dreams.
This is the Legion.
Teens with dreams, yeah. All I wanna do is me when I grow up. Teens with dreams, yeah. All I wanna do is me when I grow up. Teen with a dream don't get no harder. Gets easy once you start it. No use in running away. Mr. Panting said you got it.
Yeah, you got that, and it feels so good to be on track. Even when you fall down, ain't no other way around. Your success is determined by your bounce back. Dream.
Hey, 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 welcome everybody to Hamilton Radio. This is the Casual Chat. I'm Ava Holly, and we've got some incredible people here today. First off, I want to give a shout out to the Logan Bros and that beautiful original song created for Mr. Panting Productions, who is now in Miami doing his thing out there. So we're waving to you.
Hey, Marco.
And we love you. Marco Panting, we will talk to you again soon. Hopefully you're going to be well to call in sometime soon. Marco's recovering from a hit and run kind of accident. So he's doing well though. So we love you and we'll talk to you soon. So today I have on the Casual Chat the incredible Geri Petito. And let me tell you why. Because first of all, she hosts 5 radio shows. Why are you incredible? She hosts 5 radio shows. She is an international Internet Radio Hall of Fame winner, Lifetime Achiever. And she's like an icon for our other radio channel, which now we're making connections with Hamilton Radio and WBNN, and she is an icon over there. Battle of the Network Stars champion 3 times, 4 times, something like that. So let's give it up for Geri Petito. I'm so honored to have you co-hosting today and being a guest here, and love it. Geri was the one who got me started on both networks, so I got a shout out to Gino and shout out to Ruben, and thank you guys at Hamilton Radio for everything. Our other incredible guest today.
Here we go. Drum roll, please.
Ready? Talk about married to the mob, right?
Okay.
This is Tootsie Gallo. Am I saying that right? Do you go by Tootsie Baron?
Gallo
Tootsie
Baron.
Gallo Baron. Okay, I have 3 names also, but I only use 2 professionally, so we'll get it right. But before we get into Tootsie's story and her book and her all kinds of good stuff with her, I got to tell you guys about Fashion Week last night. Cool. New York Fashion Gala with my friend Samina Mughal, and she is also going through the same cancer that I went through. And we're both cancer-free right now, although she has to have a couple more surgeries. So my shout out to Samina. But Fashion Gala was amazing, packed house at the Paris Ballroom in New York. And I had at my table Ava'S eye bags, which you've seen.
I love, and I have.
And I had bags from a woman who is from the Philippines, yet she makes the bags out of Margate. So they were beautiful. And I had some of my mom's jewelry from her shop in Miami, and my mom's no longer with us. So I brought you guys some jewelry today.
All right, girl.
Woo! So I had to bring you guys jewelry. Tootsie, I'm going to give you yours first. So I hope you like it. Just a little something. That's you guys that are listening online. It's just a little gold necklace with some stones on it.
Oh,
some
my.
pearls. And Geri, you got the one. Obviously, the case is for a ring, but you got the one with the child on it.
Oh.
So that's like to
I love
represent your
it.
daughter.
Oh, adorable.
So
Thank you,
enjoy
girl.
those,
Thank
ladies.
you.
And I know you can't see it, but the back of my shirt says
Absolutely.
"Fashion stole my soul."
Beautiful. I'm
So
gonna put it up. It's just
awesome.
beautiful.
So enjoy that.
I can't wait to wear it.
Oh, adorable.
So enjoy that. Was just thinking of you guys.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So Tootsie, the first thing I want to share with everybody, you shared with me in the car ride on the way up, and let me tell you, that was a lifetime experience to have a conversation with Tootsie Baron. Gallo, right? Did I say it right that time?
Tootsie
Gallo Baron. Let's just leave it at Tootsie Gallo because I'm going
Yes.
crazy.
That's right.
I write on the Tootsie Barrett.
Tootsie Baron.
Oh, so now in the books it's Tootsie Baron, but it's Tootsie Gallo. I'm confused
All right,
now. No.
that's all right because I know she knows people know the Gallo name, so we're using the Baron
Yes.
name. So right,
That's right.
but I want you to tell our listeners how you got your name Tootsie because I thought that was a really cute story that you shared with me. Would you mind sharing that?
I'd be happy to.
Awesome.
Many, many years ago, when I grew up in Jersey City, I owned an Italian delicatessen, and
At 19 years old, 20 years old, she owned
I
an
wasn't
Italian
quite
deli.
20, yes, in Jersey City. And my brother used to come in every morning to grab a cup of tea on his way to work. And there were two big building projects going up in our neighborhood. And a lot of construction going on. And the foreman of the construction crew used to call me every morning and put in an order for the guys on his shift, the first shift, and 20 cups of coffee, 15 rolls in butter, etc. And he used to come and he sent one of the guys to pick it up. But on this particular morning, he came to pick it up himself. And my brother was standing there drinking his tea. The foreman came in, and he just happened to walk in, and he said, "Good morning, Toots." And my brother heard it. And previously I had always been called Tony was my name, Toni. And my brother heard it, and he loved it. And from that day forward, I was called Toots and Tootsie. And I've been Tootsie ever since.
I love that.
That's how I
Isn't
got
that
the name.
cute? I
Yes.
love it. I
Walked
love it.
into the delicatessen and said, "Hi, Toots." And that's how I got it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. And it fits you appropriately. It's so cute, isn't it? It's
very
so
cute.
cute.
Everybody
just
says
like
it fits me, so
It is. It's
I
great.
like it.
So let's move out of the delicatessen days
Okay.
and talk a little bit about what happened after that.
Well, it just so happens my first husband, the father of my children, whom I remained friends with until he passed away 2 years ago, he had a bit of a gambling problem. And so one day, someone came and approached me and said, "You know he owes a lot of money out there for gambling." I said, "Well, I did not know that when I married him, but I certainly have learned that since." And they said, "Well, we have a job offer for you." And I said, because at that time I was a stay-at-home mother. My children were babies. And I said, "And what might that be?" They said, there are some people that would like for you to write for them. Well, I started out being an English major, so when they said write, this is what I thought they meant. Write a novel, write poetry, which is my favorite. I have my children's book. The sequel's coming out next month. That's what I thought they meant, to be a writer. Well, that couldn't have been farthest thing from my mind. They said, "No, that's not the kind of writing. They need a writer." I said, "To do what? Write what?" To write some sports bets during the day while the guys are out taking care of business. They need somebody
TCB.
to write, and we're recommending you because you are a Gallo. And you are going highly recommended. I said, "Just a minute. Are you trying to tell me they want me to become a bookie for the mob?" And they said, "Well, yes, that's what they're called, a bookie." Well, I said, "I've certainly heard that name since my husband is a gambler." And they said, "And you'll be able to pay off his debt." I said, "Well, let me try it out." And to make a long story short, that's how I ended up in the business. And at first it was only supposed to be the day shift, which runs from 12 to 2. But as it turned out, I had a flair for it. I guess numbers was my business. And I can explain why. Basically what it entailed was moving money to 5 of the big bookies in the country when they wanted something moved. Well, I had to go shopping for the best numbers. And I took to it like a duck takes to water. Why not? I'm born with that gene. Nobody on this planet's going to outshop a woman. I don't care if you're shopping for shoes, which I happen to love, pocketbooks, clothes, I don't care what it is. Nobody can outshop a woman. In my case, my job was to go out and shop for the best numbers. If the line was -3, my job was to try to find -2.5 in football. The 3 hottest numbers: 3, field goal, 7, touchdown. A half a point can make all the difference between a push, which is a washout, a loss, or a win. And that's exactly what I did. I went out shopping for numbers. That's what I did for them. And, like I said, I rose to the top because nobody outshops a woman. And that's exactly what I did for the mob. I shopped for numbers.
Well, speaking of women in the business, you told me a story in the car about what happened ultimately by doing this shopping. I know you don't talk about this subject all that much, yet I'm going to ask you, you spent some time in that slammer, and you said that you had a judge back in the day that you
Yes.
should have been, because of what it was, you never even had a parking ticket, you should have been excused, so they say. Can you-
PTI.
Yeah, can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, I knew going in, when I took the job, the powers that be told me, we will do everything in our power to keep you from ever having to have a problem with the law. However, you can't be naive. It is against the law to be a bookie, especially back then. This is before the casinos, before they put the books into the casinos. There's still bookies on every other corner. Not everybody wants to drive to a casino to go make a bet. It's very easy to pick up your phone and make your bet. Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of it going on today. It's Sunday, football. And I did take to it. But I knew going in they would try to protect me. However, I would never blame God or anyone else, because the day did come when, not on my phone, one of the guys I was doing business with, his phone was tapped. The law was on to him. Obviously, they got me talking to him. It didn't take them too long to track me down. Now they knew who I was. And it wasn't too long before they came in and I took the pinch, and as we call it. And when I started, the only reason I took the job is that a particular godfather stood in front of me and gave me one of these, which was the blessing to go to work for the mob. And it came with 2 stipulations. One, I could never write about it because they knew I wanted to always be a writer. And for 25 years, a minimum of 25 years, that's for obvious reasons. People retire, people go away, people die. And so no one, even though it is a work of fiction, sugar paper, but still people might think or find an association. And they couldn't have that. And the other thing was, I could never write anything down on paper, because if the law ever came in, and ultimately they did, that would have been deemed as evidence, dead to right. So with that said, I did get the blessing, and I proceeded to go to work. I worked for 12 and a half years. And then they came knocking on my door, and I got arrested, lawyered up, went before the judge, and the prosecutor, here's the interesting thing. I had a spotless record. I didn't even have a parking ticket on my record. And the assistant prosecutor were in the courtroom. And they recommended what we call PTI, which most people get for for first offense, nonviolent crime, and they were behind it 100%. And I go before the judge, and he had a nickname, Jail for Sure, and his last name.
Jail for sure.
That was his nickname. I knew I was in trouble as soon as I heard that one. And I go before him, and the prosecutor recommended PTI, and he started pulling out his very little hair that he had left on top of his head because he was practically bald. He started pulling it out, screaming in the courtroom, "Organized crime is coming into my courtroom, and I'm not going to have it, especially when it comes before me in the form of a woman."
Whoa.
Can you imagine that? Now, in today's world, he could have never gotten away with that.
Right.
We would have challenged that. And we would have had that reversed. But back then, he got away with that. And he laid the hammer down on me. He turned the prosecutor down. And he said, "I don't want organized crime in my county." And he laid the hammer down on me. And I proceeded to go to the slam.
Mm-hmm.
I ultimately did 6.5 months at county time. And that's how it came about.
Wait, I have a question. How old were you?
Back then,
Yeah, when you went to jail.
I think I was 32 at the time.
And how old were your children?
And
I'm sorry, I don't know how to shut this thing off, so let's get rid of that. I apologize.
that's okay.
I don't do any technical work. I have an assistant that comes in and does my work for me. I was 32, so when I went away, most of they were kids
was gonna
compared
ask
to
you
me.
that.
Most of the girls, and there were only 7 or 8 of us in there, in their early 20, maybe 20, nonviolent crime. None of us had any violent crime, and they were kids compared to me. And I never understood, although I had gone to visit some people I knew that were away, put some money in their account before all of this. But it never occurred to me that when I got taken from the courtroom, they took me right over. We went underground, I remember, and there's some kind of a tunnel that takes you to the jail from the courthouse. And I went up there, and they had already gotten, the female guard had already gotten the call that I'm coming. And here's what they ask you. They don't even want to know your name. They ask you, what is the crime that brought you here? That's all they care about. They don't care what your name is. They don't care where you come from. What brought you here? I said, well, I was a bookie for the mob. That's all they had to hear. Whoa. And the fact that I was so much older than them, at least 12 years older than them.
So nobody really bothered you.
Nobody bothered me. I was like the queen.
Wow. Okay.
Geri, are you going to give us a poem later from your book for Miss Tootsie? You wanna
sure, I could.
Think about something you might want to close out with later. Yeah, I know. I figured you would like to do that. So that's all so interesting. So now you're moving forward from that. You did your 6.5 months. How did your book come about?
Well, like I said, I started out as I would have been an English major, and I always wanted to write. And I had gotten the blessing to do it. Without the blessing, as a Gallo, I would have known better. I would have never written this book. It's a total work of fiction. However, what has to be accurate, such as certain games, what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mob's biggest moneymaker, which is bookmaking. And especially, it's still out there. But back then, there was a bookie on every corner. Like I said, you couldn't go to a casino. There weren't any. And put a sports. If you wanted to bet on sports, which, by the way, nobody twists your arm to do it. You know, you had to call your corner bookie. and so that's their biggest moneymaker. And it's a multi-billion-dollar a year business.
So that's
all over the
basically
country.
what the book is about.
And that is
right?
what sugar paper is about. Now, I'm not going to tell you what sugar paper is, because I will not give it away. But about halfway through the book, you're going to find out what it is something that has to do with the business. And you'll find out exactly what it is in this book. And it's a total work of fiction. The woman, Kiki, is my heroine. And her godfather, whom she calls Uncle, he's the protagonist. And if there's one thing we all know, I wrote the screenplay to go with this. Because if history has taught us one thing, mob movies make all the money in Hollywood.
Heck yeah.
Without a doubt. And there's never been one, ever, done by a woman. This is it. Sugar paper. So, and to our knowledge, no woman has ever written a book about the mob, totally mobbed up. In the industry, to our knowledge, it's never been done. This is it. And like I say, it is fiction, but when I'm talking about the sports, what has to be accurate, hopefully, I haven't had one reader come up and because they'll call you out if you've made a mistake, if they find a mistake. I have not had one reader yet ever contact me. I have my own website, tootsiebarron.com, or you can reach me on Facebook and tell me anything that's sports in here that I'm talking about is inaccurate. But if you do find something, please contact me.
And where can they get your book? Right on your website?
You get my book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Books A Million.
Cool. And your book too. Where can they get your book?
We'll talk about my book in 1 second. Hold on. So, all right. So this lady right here, everybody, okay? Tootsie. She's one of the coolest ladies I've ever met.
She is.
All right. I was honored to meet her son, right? We met her son at Letty's.
She said you guys met at a luncheon. Is that correct?
I couldn't remember.
She didn't remember where you guys
met. I met you at the luncheon originally, but I met your son at Letty's. I didn't meet him at the luncheon.
Yeah.
My son
I met him
was
too, yeah.
That was just last weekend, the holiday weekend.
So I've met Tootsie at the luncheon, entertainment luncheon, right? Johnny B.
Uh-huh.
But I interviewed her prior to that on a couple networks, but I got to meet her son. But what's so cool about this lady is, listen, my mom was 4'11". How tall are you?
4'10".
All right, so she's even smaller than my mom, all right? She usually wears her hair really big, okay? So when she walks in her room, people are like, that's a cool lady, all right?
Big hair. I got big hair.
So to know, listen, when I know her story, I talk to her often, but every time I hear her tell it, I crack up laughing. I'm picturing her in a cell, okay? And I just can't, my entire family, I can talk about this now. So my dad's family was from Naples, very honest, hardworking Italians that all came here and built incredible businesses and lives for us. My mother's family, on the other hand, was from Sicily, and everyone was connected. So we grew up.
Believe that?
We grew up in Long Island City, New York, and we had the I forget what it was called, where the water and the bridges are, I forget what it was called, but the kids weren't allowed to go there. The docks. In Long Island City, New York, Queens, they had the docks.
We know who owns them.
Okay, so the kids weren't allowed to go ever to the docks. Every time my brother and my cousins went to the docks, my mother would get a phone call, keep the kids out of the friggin' docks. And they'd get a beating when they got home. We never knew till we were grown-ups how they always knew when they went to the docks. Okay? So that's why I'm so intrigued. I love mafia movies, obviously, Godfather movies, all that. But this lady, I think I'm intrigued with the most. All right? Number one, she's beautiful. She's amazing. She's the cutest little thing ever, okay? And she was in a jail cell. Listen. I I can't imagine it. You got to be one tough cookie lady, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, like she said, when they heard she worked for the mob, they all ran.
I just had to say that.
She was the queen of the jail cell.
Nice place to be the queen in the slam.
Of course she was. I just had to say that because I love you and you crack me up.
I love Jerry just as much.
Yeah, oh my God, you guys are too funny. Thank you, Geri, for bringing Tootsie to the show today. Well, I actually brought her,
That's right.
but you brought her.
No, but you actually picked her up and drove her from AC.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You got to hear this story. Then we're going to get to your book.
right.
But you got to hear this story. So I took Tootsie because I'm thinking she's near Smithville. So that's what I thought she was. So I'm at the Wawa getting a cup of coffee, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to shoot right down here.
I
And the
thought she was close
GPS.
to you.
She is. Smithville's close to me, but she's closer. She's not at Smithville. The GPS is going, go down here and make a left. I'm like, make a left? And I go there. I could jump from my balcony onto her roof.
We're neighbors. As it turns out, we're neighbors.
So
She
cool.
lives around the corner from me.
We're like 5 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
That is so
Unbelievable.
cool.
Can you imagine?
It's unbelievable. So I had to pull in, and that's just when you called me. So I had to pull in for a second, and then after you hung up, I
That's
said,
cool.
"This is where I live."
That's so cool.
It was cool. But
5
Geri,
minutes.
we got to talk a little bit about your book. So
Yeah.
you got tell us about your book.
Okay, so I'll give you my little spiel I always give on my shows. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass. Because 32 years ago, guys, July 27th, I was a dumbass. But today, this past July, I can honestly say now I'm a smartass. Yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times, and it means donkey, and that's what I was. All right, so here's the thing, guys. I don't agree with a lot of what goes on in the programs, although I'll never tell anyone not to go to the programs, okay? If you don't have a support system, please go. But know this, you are not powerless. Not over anything, okay? I do not consider myself an addict because I'm not. I haven't used anything in 32 years. I don't even have any desires because I brought the Lord into it. So once you do that, trust me, you can be completely cured and you are not powerless over anything. So don't let anyone convince you of that. But, you know, God is so good because he told me to write this book, and I wrote it in 3 weeks, and I'll never forget that, in 2019. I didn't even tell my family. I just said I fast every year for a month, so they thought I was locking myself in the fast. And I write the book. I was woken up in the middle of the night, and I heard the words, write your book. And I didn't know it, but 2 family members of mine absolutely needed my help. And until I wrote the book, they wouldn't have known to really come to me. And I said, okay, Lord, I'll write the book. I saved 2 of my family members' lives. Okay, God did. So anyway, what I did in 2020 was I revised it. Simon & Schuster published it in 2019. And the woman was amazing. My book was sent to her, and in 5 days they called me and said, we're publishing your book. So that was a God moment as well. But it was very small. I was right to the point with everything I had to say. And she didn't tell me you had to have a certain amount of pages to put your name and title on the spine. I didn't even realize that until Barnes & Noble in my town got in touch with me, and they said, bring your book. We want to put it in our store. I go there with my book, and they're like, we can't. Because of that. So 2020, I revised it, COVID, through all that, right? I was home. Now it's very big, and I took advantage of it because I called Barnes & Noble. They said, put as many pages as you want, Jer. It's on us, just do it. And so what I did was I added a lot more about addiction that I learned, which I didn't know when I first wrote it, okay? Very cool stuff in here. Everything's a fact. Not one thing is an opinion in here. Okay? And then I took advantage and I added a bunch of my other poems and family pictures and poems and all that towards like the 3/4, like the last quarter of the book. So it's amazing. And there's also pages here that you could write and take notes, okay? The chapters are very small. But I want to read a poem, the author poem I wrote, because you're an author and I'm an author. So,
And I'm an author.
well, yes, but you're the host here. We're all authors. So I'd like to read that poem today.
Yeah, you're going to close out with that,
Yes.
right? Later.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
I'd
I had
love to hear
what they call it at the Hallmark Channel is a God wink moment. And I had one of those also. I had my God wink from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's a tongue twister. But God had a hand in it. I lost my mother to brain cancer. And I'm not going to say the name of the organization, but I called a famous cancer organization. And they didn't have a research department because I said, I want to find out how this dis-ease killed my mother in 4 weeks. And they said, we're going to, I said, you don't have a research department? Let me help you with that. I can do promotions. I can help set it up. Let me do that. They were so interested. They said, we're gonna look into that. We're gonna call you back tomorrow, and we'll see if we can set up a meeting with somebody. And I was so excited, right? That was 14 years ago. I'm still waiting for that tomorrow phone
Okay.
call. So I wound up going to bed that night, and I said, I'm gonna start my own foundation for brain cancer research. And then I said, who needs one more thing to donate to? Nah, I don't think I'm gonna do that. And in the middle of the night, we had the sports channel on. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who I met when I was 14, woke me up and said, one person can make a difference.
This is a God moment. Go ahead.
And I get emotional when I say that because the next day I started my foundation. Now, we had an Elvis tribute artist that passed away from the same thing that my mother did. So we gave all of our money that would make us a 501c3, we gave it to his family. So, however, that said, I've hooked up with the National Brain Tumor Society, and they treat me like gold. And they are the best. So if you're out there with anything to do with your brain and you need, go to braintumor.org, and there's all kinds of resources there. So that was the one story. I'm going to share another quick story with you. So I'm an author too, and my book is very opinionated, not very much on fact, except for the experiences that happen to you in the restroom, especially when you're traveling on the road.
Right.
So my father had this guy. We gave him a different name in the book. And because he wasn't really like the brightest tool in the shed. So, but he was a great guy. He managed the men's department in my dad's department store. So my dad had an apartment right next to ours, and the tenants called and said, we have a problem with the floor around the toilet. It's like soft. So my dad sends this guy, he goes, go over to the apartment, see what's going on over there, check it out. When he gets there, the gentleman of the apartment had fallen through the floor from the bathroom because the floor was soft. So the guy calls my father. The guy calls my father, and he says, I have a question for you. He says, do I pull him up from the top or do I take him down from the bottom? So that's one of the stories in my book, and all my stories relate with things that you can do in your business to get yourself going. And that one is, checking for the cracks, checking for the leaks, checking for the problems that you have in your business. So my book's totally different than you guys' books, but it's it's fun and I love it, and it's that kind of. I don't have any more books, so I couldn't show it. I have to get more.
I want to share something, like you were talking about brain cancer and all that. I want to share something with everybody out there. I'm a nutritional health coach, and I'm also a recovery coach. All my services to you are free. I cured myself of 2 cancers. I was in my late 20s and early 30s when all this went on. I was about 100 pounds and very sick, colon and breast, and I did it all natural because I would have died if I went the medical route. My mother's entire family all died of those things and heart disease. And I have doctors and nurses in my family. We love each other. They even ask me for advice. I'm here to tell everybody out there, if anyone is struggling, please, please reach out to me. I will not charge you a penny, okay? We can get you fixed through nutrition, believe it or not, through nutrition. Okay, I'm also a fasting expert. I did up to 60 days of nothing but water, cured my cancer, and I brought in a home colonic system back then. So I can help you and give you advice, okay? So please, please reach out if you are in recovery, if you want to backslide, if you're suicidal, if you have any diseases. Please reach out to me.
Or if you want to learn how to cook, she's also a chef.
I'm also a vegan chef.
And we're going to be doing some cool things with that too. So I'm so excited about bringing all of this, stuff together. So pretty excited about that. So for those of you that don't know me, I have a business that is kind of over the entertainment industry. And since the pandemic, we really haven't been doing much special events, although we're looking to move everything into one location, throw our special events from there, have Geri come over and do some cooking. And we're getting closer every day. So I'm really, really excited about that. In fact, we go out to the property next week to get some things done over there. So back to you, Miss Tootsie.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the other book you have. You said did you start with the children's book first, or was Sugar Paper the first book?
The children's book.
You have to into your mic, baby.
This is my children's book. I Can See the Rainbow Bridge. The sequel is in production right now. It should be ready.
Because I think we moved this just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I've lifted up a little, just
And
Just a hair.
there you go.
How's that?
and all right.
Ooh, I got to get close to her.
I wrote this book with the children, for the children. This was my beloved Papillon. Boy Scout, he was my prince. I had another one called Wise Guy. And
She had to name them all
when
like
they
that.
crossed over, broke my heart. And I've had other dogs, all boys. I've had nothing but all boy dogs. And every one of them, when they crossed over, it just broke my heart. And one day it occurred to me, well, if my heart is this broken, what are the children feeling when they lose a member of their family, as we call them, our pets? I couldn't imagine what a child would be feeling to lose a pet. And so I gave it some thought, and then I came up with this, which was actually a poem. And the publisher, they loved it, and they said, we'd like to turn this into a children's book. And I did it specifically to show the children not to worry. I do believe that when our pets cross over the Rainbow Bridge, they go to a very beautiful place.
Yes.
And the sequel is being made now. It's a continuation. Will you be there when I call to you? It should hopefully be out by the end of next month. So this is my other book for the children. And again, you can get this on Amazon, BAM, Books, Barnes and Noble. And so this actually was completed first. Then Sugar Paper came out. My mobbed up book. Oh, and by the way, I wrote the screenplay that goes along with this because one thing we know, mob movies make all the money in Hollywood. Well, it's sitting out in Hollywood somewhere on a shelf, collecting
the writer's
dust.
strike, right? Yeah.
Since they've been on strike for over 3 months. But hopefully, when they go back to work, I'm hopefully going to be able to sell the screenplay because whether it be streaming, which is very popular today, where they make it into a serial like they did The Sopranos, which right now is still ranked number 2, highest grossing, or turn it into a major film. It's time for us to see something out there because Hollywood keeps chirping. They want to be more inclusive of women. They want work from women. Well, here it is. Come and get it.
And I told her I have a connection for you with that. So we're going to work on that this week. So that's
See,
amazing.
when they come back to work.
Yeah,
they
right?
They better get
Hopefully
moving because
that's
they're going to
soon.
have to make up for lost time and get some stuff out there.
I'm missing my shows. They got to come back soon. So tell us a little more about Sugar Paper. So give us a little insight. Can you give us a little bit? Can you tease us a little bit?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about my favorite scene in the
Yes.
as I have the movie trailer for to send to the production companies. Kiki had, of all her clients, she only had a bad feeling on one of them. And he was a little aggressive. And from the moment she met him, she always felt that he was a bit of a misogynist. He loved doing business with a female bookie, but when it came time to pay her, she always had a feeling that he kind of objected to having to bring money to a female. And sure enough, one night, he would always have a couple of drinks. Most of the places Kiki went and settled up with her clients, they were in all the high-end lounges or restaurants, all owned by the mob, for the reason, for her protection, because normally she wasn't bringing money, she was collecting money and carrying money for them, as much as she also had her own clients on the side as well. She had her own business, and which they gave her the green light to have. And so she's always carrying money, and he wouldn't meet her on the inside. He always wanted to meet her in the parking lot. He would jump in her car and give her an envelope. And one night he got a little too feisty, and she always had really a bad feeling about him in that he just didn't like bring money to a woman. And she was right about that. And he tried to get aggressive with her. And quite frankly, he would have raped her in the car. He had a few drinks in him. And
Dun, 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 dun.
and
Right?
that would have happened. The only time she was really afraid, because she was not afraid of anything. But all of a sudden, the door got yanked open. Gentleman all dressed in black from head to toe. All she could see was his eyes. Pulls him out, throws him in the trunk. Next thing she knows, she is brought to a big warehouse where he's sitting in a chair, and he's tied. His hands are tied behind his back.
Wow.
And they had worked him over. And they told her on the way there that this was her moment. His destiny was in her hands. And she said, "What do you want from me?" "We want you to get from him whatever you think you deserve for what he tried to do to you." And the warehouse was empty, except for him sitting in a chair in the middle of the warehouse. And she walked in front of him. He was shocked to see her. And his nose was in 4 different directions. And as she was told, they tenderized him a little. And she tells him, "I want 2 things from you. I want you to give me a heartfelt, genuine apology for what you tried to do to me. And number 2, I want you to beg me to spare your life."
Wow.
Yeah.
And she was right. That's when she realized, right to the end, I mean, this guy's 2 seconds away from the promised land. And he says, no. He just wouldn't. No. He said to her,
That was then.
she said, "Because if you do not, I'm going to give the order that's going to cause you more pain than is humanly possible to take." And he, misogynist, and shocked her by saying, and if you'll pardon my language, it's my favorite line in the book, "You don't have the balls to give that order."
I hope she did.
She said to him, lady that she always was, "Well, you're right about that, Marco." His name was Marco Polo. That's the name he used. "Well, I wasn't born with that particular equipment. That's for sure. I don't have the balls that can give that order. But I'll tell you what I do possess that's going to give the order. I was born with a hairy patch that's going to give that order. Mr. X, break his kneecaps, Mr. Y, send his balls to the promised land.
Yes.
That's Kiki. And my favorite line in the book.
I love it.
Wow, that's
love it, girl.
crazy.
And she proceeds to give the order. Oh, change his tune in a hurry. And that's as far as I'll tell you. You have to read it for yourself.
Yeah, right. That's great. I love it. So wait, so on a lighter note, so now you're back, you're in the slammer, right? And you had a visit and said, oh, I could get you out in 2 to 3 hours. Tell us that story.
Tell that story.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. So Kiki now is in the slam. She's only there tops 2 weeks. When the guard comes and tells her, you have visitors. Well, it wasn't visiting day. She said, visitors? It's not visiting day. Oh. The feds are here to see you. Well, wasn't the first time Kiki had ever had an encounter with the feds. People disappeared. They questioned Kiki. Kiki was questioned all the time. But sure enough, she goes down. And let me tell you something about the feds. First of all, they're all highly educated college grads. Secondly, they dress impeccably. They have creases in their trousers that would make a gunnery sergeant proud. And their shoes are so shiny, they're like mirrors. And they're gentlemen. And they come in, they were there waiting for her, and they said, you don't belong here. I said, thank you very much. That's what we tried to tell the judge. That didn't work. Well, we can have you out in 2 to 3 hours tops. And Kiki says, well, what do you want from me? And they said, well, you have to give us the name of 2 criminals.
I love this.
2 criminals? I don't know any criminals. Kiki says. I said, sure you do. And if you do, we promise you we'll get you right out of here. She said, is that a bona fide offer? And they said, absolutely, we'll put it in writing. She says, well, if you put it in writing, I'll give you 2 criminals. And they said, who do you have for us? She says, she hated to do it. She had to think of 2 guys put together very quickly. She said, Spiro T. Agnew, Richard M. Nixon. Because they had already pleaded guilty like 10 years before. She said, there's 2 criminals for you. You're going to get me out of here now?
So-
They didn't think Kiki was that funny. But what they did concede was that, well, we can see you're never gonna give anybody up. She says, no. I'm a Gallo. We don't give anybody up. I'm sorry you wasted a trip here. And they left.
My mom's brother, they had the same mom but a different father. Back in the day, he was a Gallo, lived in Staten Island, Richmond Avenue.
So you guys might be related.
You never know.
You never know.
And that's how Kiki got the nickname, the most stand-up lady in the state of New Jersey. And believe me, she earned that title.
She did. That's beautiful.
Geri, I don't know, of all the times that we've talked, that I remember you saying that your family's from Naples. Because
We never.
we talked about so many other
Right.
things. My family's from Naples, so we might be
Avellino.
related. No.
Avellino, my dad. Avellino.
And we were D'Angelo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's funny. And then when my grandfather married my grandmother, he converted, and they changed the name. They took off the D and the
he
O.
was from the Avellino town.
Avellino town.
Yes.
Oh, okay. What was their name?
Petito.
Oh, it was. Hello. That's funny. So my grandfather was D'Angelo. They took off the D and the O, and it became Angel.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that, so they changed it to Angel. So that's
Okay,
our
that's
family
so
name. And I only had male dogs also up until recently. Our little Schnauzer is a mini female. First time I had a female dog, and she's like so attached to my husband. So I know how that relationship, that love relationship. I mean, she loves me, but she loves him.
Men were my business. I love to be surrounded with men. Even the dogs have to be men.
There you go.
I always say I have a 4-legged daughter and a 2-legged daughter that have the same personality. How did that happen? All right. Well, we are coming down to wrapping things up here. So, Geri, what do you got for us out of your beautiful book?
So, guys, you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can go to my website, actually, www.geripetito.com. You could order it from there. You could go to BAM, Simon & Schuster's bookstore, Archway Publishing. It's everywhere, okay? And do me a favor, go to the Geri Petito Show YouTube channel, and please, please subscribe. A lot of cool things. This show's going to be on there. All right, guys?
Awesome.
Before I read this poem, I'm reading it in honor of all three of us and all the authors out there. But I want to say thank you to you, Ava, first and foremost, for having me here with you.
Thank
and
you.
I want to say thank you to our little Tootsie Gal here, because you are so freaking cool, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Aw.
love you.
We love you.
Ladies are great.
We love you.
And you're doing some wonderful things out there.
Thank you.
Your foundation, your work
Thank
as
you.
well.
But you're amazing.
And we girls had a little fun.
Yeah.
We love having you.
I could just imagine if the three of us ever went out on the town one night. Oh
Okay.
my goodness!
Okay.
We'd all have to change our names. Never mind.
Watch out, girls! Here
Change
we
our
go.
names to protect the innocent. I said enough. All right. This one's a very short poem, very short. It's called I'm an Author. To be a writer, out of the box you must think. You need to become that one missing link. Let your mind wander and let your thoughts go. When your imagination is flying, your paper will know. My poet's corner is filled with dreams. When the world is still and yet it seems, when I think and write, when I dream and stare, when I play the part, I'm a poet's pair. For you to make magic with your paper and pen, get into your thoughts again and again. Don't be afraid to really step out. You gotta tell the world what you're thinking about. Left-brained, we're not. I'm sure you'll agree. That logical crap, it's just not for me. We'd rather paint and draw and write. It keeps us happy, cheery, and bright. If you're not creative or just don't know how, just pull out your pad and start writing now. That's for everybody out there who wishes
All
they
right.
could.
That's
Because
awesome.
you
I
could.
love it.
I got to tell you, I love
And
your
I
poetry.
write poetry also.
Yeah, I know you said
love
you
it.
love poetry. I do too, and I love Geri's poems. They're always so
I love it.
thought-provoking.
Can I read one more?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There's a reason why I want to read this poem. Okay, so a lot of things are going on, and unfortunately, a lot of people are committing suicide. A family member of mine, a few friends recently, families that are struggling. So this is for anyone out there. It's a small poem, but this is for anyone out there.
We had a family member too.
Yeah.
Anniversary was yesterday.
Okay, who's thinking about it, and I'm begging you not to. Again, please reach out to me. I can help you. It's called Put Down the Gun, and the gun can be anything, your drug of choice. It could be gambling, right? It could be whatever is destroying your life. Put down the gun. I had to have this purple gun just in case my life was done. I kept it safe, locked in my room, because I was filled with gloom and doom. Yes, there were times that I just knew if I loaded it up what I could do, but I kept on hearing that gentle voice, put down that gun, you have that choice. Life may seem hard at the end of the day, but that's when you need to really pray. Dear Father, I beg you to show me the truth. How can life be so bad when I'm only a youth? Get rid of that gun and go take a shower. Ask someone for help. You do have that power. You have that power.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that
This is for
beautiful?
you, girlfriend.
Well
Ooh,
said.
yay, that's
Well
for
said.
you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Awesome.
girlfriend.
Awesome. So before we close out, I want to say thank you to these lovely, amazing ladies, Geri Petito, Tootsie Barron, author
My
Tootsie
pleasure.
And
Barron.
Gallo.
Yeah,
We got to
ladies.
put the Gallo in there.
Yeah.
She says, I'm a Gallo.
To
They know
she's
me.
a
I'm a Gallo.
baby.
Yeah.
So I'm Ava Holly. This is Ava's Casual Chat. You can find me on Facebook at 4A Star, the number 4. You can find me there as Ava Holly, public figure. Go to BAM, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Get your books. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Sugar Paper and your children's books. You'll find them there. And it's, what is your website, Tootsie?
TootsieBaron.com.
TootsieBaron.com. You can find out more information about the beautiful Tootsie and how she's right here in our home state And, we love, she's a treasured icon here. So that's happy to know you and so honored and thrilled that you came here today. So
I'm honored to be here.
thank you. And thank you.
And thank you.
And we will give a shout out to Mr. Panting Productions, to the Logan Brothers. Look them up on Facebook, Logan Bros, who did our beautiful original song. Who else we got? Gino and Ruben. Thank you guys for making us all look so good here at Hamilton Radio. Find us hamiltonradio.net. And the show will be on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook. So check it out. Thank you so much. Ruben, you ready to take us out? All right. And we will see you next time on the Casual Chat.
Teens with dreams. Teens with dreams.
This is the Legion.
Teens with dreams, yeah. All I wanna do is me when I grow up. Teens with dreams, yeah. All I wanna do is me when I grow up. Teen with a dream don't get no harder. Gets easy once you start it. No use in running away. Mr. Panting said you got it. Yeah, you got that. And it feels so good to be on track. Even when you fall down, ain't no other way around. Your success is determined by your bounce back. Dream,